right, what's going on, Eagles fans? It's me. It's your boy, Sal G. And the Eagles just went to Baltimore and took care of business, beating the Ravens 24-19. What's going on, everybody? You're here on It's a Wrap Network. This is the Eagles Flyby post-game show. And with me is my main man. You can't spell Sal without Al. Here he is, Big Al Zafiri. What's going on, brother? Big win today for the Birds.
Dude, we saw bird on bird crime tonight, and guess what? We won big time. No, dude. Listen, a lot of people came into this game with the thought process of we got to, the Eagles have to win, or they're no good against good teams, or some people have the thought that, and I think a lot of us fell into this one. They lose. As long as they're not walloped, we're okay. The Eagles didn't play their best game. They didn't play their best. Start off very slow as they have been, and I know a certain guy on this network hates every last second of it, as everybody else does. But the one question is, what happens when you do it against a good team? Well, we saw that. Also, the Ravens also shot themselves in the foot a bit, a few times, and I tweeted out earlier, Eagles' best defensive player today. Went a little break here. It was Justin Tucker, place kicker for the Baltimore Ravens.
He's an opera singer, The opera singers shouldn't be NFL football kickers. I don't know.
He can't. I hope he can hit the high note. Then he can hit that field goal. Then he did. He left. I mean, we had a problem with it with Jake Elliott earlier in the season. Luckily, we weren't playing a great team where it didn't. It wasn't as painful as it would be for them. But this has been going on for a while for Justin Tucker. So the Ravens have some questions. They have some hard decisions to make, because he's a bit of a legend in Charm City.
I'd be a little nervous if I'm the Ravens, because it's getting pretty cold now over there in Baltimore, in our part of the neck of the woods as well. It's a lot of these games, especially in the playoffs, come down to 3 points or less. So you need to be able to nail down those clutch field goals, and if you can't, you're going to be in some trouble.
Also, just so you know, Eagles broke a record today. 10-0 were the Baltimore Ravens at home in December. They are now 10-1.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. There you go. Some knowledge here being dropped by Big Al on It's a Wrap Network. Let's check some comments here real quick. Adam's saying, Eagles best team in the NFL, Saquon Barkley, MVP. That's correct, Adam. I had a $3,500, $10 bet, 35 plus 3,500, baby. I'm feeling it right now. MVP, defense is the best. Don't tell me otherwise. I will not tell you otherwise.
I don't think anybody's going to try to convince you otherwise. I mean, if it wasn't for the defense in the beginning of this game, this game could have got out of hand quickly. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, Justin Tucker missed that one field goal, kept it 9-0. Mm-hmm. But this game could have definitely been 14-0, 21-0, very, very quickly if it wasn't for this defense. They're getting pressure, as we can see, even in this game, getting pressure on Lamar is really difficult. We saw him do that little flick where he threw it out to Derrick Henry. They were able to get the first down on that one. One of these last plays of the game, he picked up like 50 yards scrambling. It was a little garbage time. They were playing prevent defense, so he was able to do it. But, they were able to get pressure on Lamar. They were able to get sacks on Lamar. They were able to stop Derrick Henry when it was needed. And you know what? The one big thing here I got to really give the Eagles a lot of credit on was they did not deviate from the plan, Sal. They did not get away from the run game. It looked like they were a little bit in the beginning of the game. They kind of got gun shy, knowing that, one of the top defenses against the run.
Number 2 ranked against the run, the Baltimore Ravens are. So that was tough sledding in the beginning.
Yeah. But you do what good running teams do. And especially a good running team with a good defense. You wear down the team. You wear down that defensive line. You soften them up. Our O-line was victorious in the long run, giving Saquon his 107 yards. I mean, it looked like it wasn't going to be one of Saquon's better days, but in 2 games they had, and one of them with the Ravens, he's over 350 yards. In just 2 games. So you can't really be upset about that. Plus, he was able to get that last touchdown and really put this game, make us as Eagles fans breathe a little easier.
That's true. Let me see. We got another comment here. My man Steve checking in. What's going on, brother? He says, I almost lost my shit when we tried jet sweep motion fake with Paris Campbell. I don't know what that play is about. Throw that one out. Just crumple that up and, I don't know.
Avante Maddox almost made me, defecate myself too, Nooms. That in the beginning of the game that really burned us a little bit, and whatever.
That's where we
I'm
sacked Lamar, right? Or
yeah,
we stopped Derrick Henry for a loss. Whatever it was fourth
it was
down,
it was a big play. It was fourth.
Uh-huh.
It would have been fourth down. Yeah.
That's correct, because the very next play, Lamar Jackson then hit Zay Flowers for a 40-yard pass. I don't know what's going on. The one thing I was kind of worried about, Al, when I was watching the game, I thought the defense was leaky because in the beginning there, Zay Flowers is just wide open. And I said, well, who the hell's covering this guy? And every time he catches the ball, there's three guys around him, but they're not close enough to, just get to him. He's just open. I don't know.
Listen, both teams are making these teams kind of special. Is the adjustments have improved, especially with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Making adjustments on the fly, making adjustments at halftime. Not always been one, especially in the beginning of the season, was not one of the better things to get away from the game. Like either they were getting away from a game plan too soon, or they were, even though the run was working, they started throwing the ball again. Like certain things. Thank you, Adam. It's one of my favorite shirts. Certain things the Eagles would do to shoot themselves in the foot. But they've been playing clean football, offensively, defensively. Yes, the starts have continuing. These first quarter slow starts are painful. Like I said, Matty B said in conversation with us before, he said, what happens when you go against a good team like this? And they were luckily able to do it. But yes, no, they do still have to clean that point. Think about it. If they cleaned that up today, this would have been a pretty much stress-free Sunday for us Eagles fans.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I thought on my show the other day, I thought there was a good chance that
great show, by the way. I was watching.
Oh, thanks, brother. That's right. Every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, the wraparound on It's a Wrap Network, starring your boy Sal G. But during the show, I was like, look, the Eagles are going to Baltimore. Baltimore's a great team. It's going to be a tough matchup. If the Eagles lose that game, I'm not going to panic. I'm not. As this game started to unfold, I was kind of thinking that they were going to lose. I was panicking a little bit, but if they lost this game, it would not be the end of the world. I still think the Eagles would have been in a really good shape, because in their last 4 or 5 games this year, they're at home and they're playing like the dregs of the NFL.
I mean, the big game in my eyes was bigger than this one that's coming up is the Steelers game. Steelers are a really good defense. Russell Wilson, well coached. I ultimately think the Ravens are a better team, and overall.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have that game. They still have the Commanders after that, so it's not as easy sledding as some people want to do. So I figure you're going to at least lose one of those games. But what makes this win a really big win for the Eagles was, you could have went down to 9-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a big deal. You're like, all right, 9-3, and that's why you would be okay with it. But part of you, the fan part of you, wanted to be like, and I'm going to ask you this, Sal, is this team legit? Did this team prove to you today that they're a legit Super Bowl, not just a playoff contender, but a legit Super Bowl contender?
Yes. Yes, they are. Like I said, I thought they were going to lose this game. They won. They look strong. The one cog they added to this team that I think can put them over the top is Saquon Barkley, my Penn State friend, alma mater guy. Yeah, I didn't know him, but I'm going to say he's my friend because we went to the same college.
Yeah, same classes, hanging out all the time. You know how it is. Yeah.
Adding him to this team just add another dimension to this offense, which we didn't have. The Ravens' weakness was not through the ground; it's through the air, and the Eagles did not exploit through the air. Jalen Hurts did not have a strong game through the air at all. But what the Eagles did, and like you mentioned, they just kept pounding the ball up the middle, softening the team. 3, 4, 5-yard runs here and there. Hurts was rushing. Then all of a sudden you had Barkley do one of his, patented, I'm off to the races. He had a 25-yard scamper there in the fourth quarter, which was nice because it was the only score since the second quarter where the Eagles put up 14 points. So yeah. I think adding Saquon Barkley, I think that the moves on defense that they made during the draft, Quinyon Mitchell, it was a little scary moment for him because it looked like he was hobbling around, but he was able to come back in the game. He looked strong. Cooper DeJean, I saw him grab up Derrick Henry and just put him down for a tackle, and the entire team was going nuts on the field and on the sidelines.
I feel like that was overlooked a little bit. Like, not that it wasn't, but like that was huge. Like, how often does Derrick Henry put on his ass?
Not often. Not often.
Dude, if you had any questions about Cooper DeJean's toughness at all, for whatever reason why you would have it, those questions should be put to bed. Like, just after that hit, I know Derrick's a little older, but he's still a monster, as we call him, half man, half monster.
He is not of this world. He's 30 years old, and he has 1,400 rushing yards in the season. Yeah. Several games left. So,
but the one thing I have to point out is, no Dallas Goedert today. Number one, or not Dallas Goedert. No Devontae Adams.
Right. He can come here because he ain't gonna want to play with Aaron Rodgers anymore.
Yeah, Devonta Smith. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But Adam, you're bringing up my point here. Not too much AJ Brown today, but glad Goddard got involved. Mm-hmm. But that's my point. Is that's what making this offense even better. Look at this stats here. Here you go. AJ Brown was 6 for 5. Dallas Goedert was 4 for 3. Saquon Barkley in the passing play was 4 for 2, 2 for 4, 3 for 4, 2 for 4. Dotson was 1 for 1. And then Covey and Campbell both had an opportunity, but didn't take it. But my point is they were spreading out the ball. That's getting more often because let's be honest, it was Barkley, and then maybe AJ and Smith.
They spread what I mean? 11 completions is kind of hard to do too, and Hurts did it.
Again, Jalen Hurts' numbers. If you look at the stat line, you're just like, he didn't have a great game, and he didn't have his greatest game, but he went against a good defense. But he didn't turn the ball over. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
Everybody wants to bang on him, and listen, I've plenty of times I could bang on him too. But 11 for 19, a 93.8% passer rating. Not the greatest of stat lines, but at the same time, he kept you in this game. He didn't cost you the game. He didn't do anything. And what Nooms is saying right here, the first thing, well-coached game. And I know, and I'm on this. I right now you can't see because the camera's not looking down, but there's a big old plate of crow right now that I'm chewing on because I got to give some credit to Nick Sirianni, right? I mean, somewhere, somehow.
I can't hate on Nick right now.
No. But what's Doom saying?
Well-coached game, but why this team mostly waits to pull the guard and tight end on run plays boggles the mind. It is so bread and butter. Can't argue with the final result, though.
But also what I like to see what they did is like the RPO. I mean, how many times last year, even when they were doing good, 10-1, that they would get away, like it wouldn't work one time and they would get away with it. Like in football, in most sports, but in football especially, you sometimes lose hands. You don't get the plays that you're looking for on purpose to see how they react to this formation, on purpose to see how they react to that kind of play being ran. Are they going to overcommit if they see you fake the handoff? And then you have, like they saw Derek, the Ravens did. He faked the handoff to Lamar Jackson. Everybody bid on it. To Derrick Henry. Everybody bid on it, leaving Derrick Henry wide open now for an easy 12 yards and just threw the ball right over the defense's head. So you got to sometimes lose plays. You got to sometimes, not get what you're hoping to get to see how they react. So it sets it up for the next time down the road.
Bit of a chess game there. You sacrifice the pawns there to make a stronger play later on in your match.
Yeah.
Steve saying, Noom saying they wait until the second half to run those plays for the most part. And maybe that's the time they feel that they softened up that D enough that they can run those type of plays and be successful with them.
And can I just mention something?
Sure. Absolutely.
Zach Bond.
Pay this man his money. Pay this man his money already. Pay the guy.
Lock him in. Whatever it is you have to do. Is he a scheme guy? Like that's the one thing I wonder. Like can he go somewhere else and not be as well? Like it's like, but like dude, he had 8 tackles, 5 assists, and he had a half a sack today, which should have been a full sack. But give him a half a sack.
That should have been a full sack.
Yeah. Nolan Smith, another name that he had a sack today. He had 3 tackles, 5 assists. Just
Kobe Dean was in on a big play. I saw him.
Jalen Carter. I mean,
just putting a lot of pressure. I mean, they got to Lamar. The other thing I noticed too, the way Derrick Henry's game is, this was a heavyweight battle. I mean, the heavyweight matchup between running backs. You get the number 1 and number 2 rushers in the NFL. Saquon Barkley, your number 1 rusher, coming into the game with 1,392 rushing yards. Derrick Henry, who's 30 years old, is 1,325 rushing yards. I mean, these are stat lines you see at the end of a season for players. They still have 5-6 games left, some of these guys. So the battle between these two, Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry's a runner where he's a one cut and go type of guy. And what the Eagles defense made him do was make his cut behind the line, and he can't do anything else. Once you got Derrick Henry running side to side, you can get to him. If he makes that cut and goes right through the middle, that's where you're in trouble. Now, Barkley's a little
and
bit
don't let him
different.
build up any speed. I mean, that's the other thing is
it's like a freight train.
You got to hit him quick and hard. Like you need to don't let he builds that he's like a juggernaut, dude. You can't stop him.
Exactly right. But Barkley's game's a little bit different. While he can do those cuts, but he's also got multiple cuts in his game. He can spin. You see him do the reverse ass jump that he did in one game.
Dude,
Derrick Henry ain't doing that. But
I'm not sitting here and calling. Barry. I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders, but he has moves that are Barry Sanders-esque, but he's bigger and stronger. Like that's kind of what makes him kind of really special. And you know what? One thing, and they've been talking about this a lot. Like a lot of people thought the running back was kind of a dead position in football.
In the NFL, it seemed like it, right?
It just goes to show you how good your offensive line needs to be. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like everybody, we all make fun of the Giants. Everybody around Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? The New York Giants are letting Saquon Barkley go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. And they probably but I still don't think they made the wrong decision.
No,
because he would have just hurt him. Like we saw people started writing off Saquon Barkley because he was in a trash organization who did not value the offensive line. And when they did get the offensive line, they didn't even know how to cultivate them and or teach them the right way of doing things. So, it just goes to show you. Look at Derrick Henry. He was on a Titans team that was fledgling. It was just going backwards.
Offensive
you moved him, you put him right in. Yeah, you put him right with Baltimore, who understands the trenches. I mean, is it weird that the head coach coached in Philadelphia for a few years before becoming the head coach? I mean, the philosophy's been there for a while. It's like, all right, there's the secret sauce, but it ain't really a big secret. So there you go.
It's something. I mean, with these two guys, they're both special players. Henry's a lock for the Hall of Fame, I'd say, wouldn't you? And Saquon Barkley, I don't, maybe borderline, and maybe he's making his case now in these next couple of years. I'm pretty sure though,
he wins the MVP this year. I think he does lock him in.
Solidifies, and wins a championship. But between these two guys, Henry and Barkley, first ever matchup between two 1,300-yard rushers this early in the season. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they both have over 10 touchdowns, 10-plus touchdowns each. Barkley had 10. Well, he got 11 now, and I think Henry had like 13. It's like the irresistible force meets the immovable object, and you talked about it, Al. Derrick Henry's a juggernaut, and you could say Saquon Barkley's a juggernaut too, man, because once he gets his steam, I mean, he's making these 60, 70-yard runs he did like when he was at Penn State when my man was 18, 19 years old. I think he's close to 30. So he looks like he's got another gear in him. I think playing on a good team, they're saying Saquon looks happy. Well, yeah, when you're on a good team and you're winning, you should be happy.
Yeah.
When you're on a bad team.
Let's think about this for a second, Sal. Right? If you're in a crap organization that can barely get 4 or 5 wins a year, I don't care if he's breaking, NFL records and winning MVPs. If you're only winning 4 or 5 games a year, it's work now. It's become a job. I mean, look at Mekhi Becton. Where was he before this? He was with the Jets. I mean, come on, culture and team has to play into it a little bit, but winning cures a lot of problems. And if you're not having fun at work, then that means work sucks.
Right. Yeah, if you'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy getting up for the big games there.
And here's the other thing for the defense. Like, here's another stat line. Derrick Henry had 19 attempts, only got 82 yards. So 4.3 yards a carry isn't terrible. I mean, that's what you always said. You want 4 yards a carry. You're happy with your carries.
Mhm.
But you kept him out of the end zone. His longest was that 19-yard run, but defense did their job. I mean, to say you're going to shut him down completely is almost impossible. But if you're able to control him, Lamar Jackson outside that last 39-yard scramble play I told you about, you subtract that from, he only got 40 yards today on 8 rushing attempts. So you did that as well, too, even though maybe the eye didn't make you feel like it, because at the moment you're like, ugh, how many times did you had him dead to rights and he was able to flick the ball out of his hands? There's little things like that. But Lamar Jackson, and I kind of bang on Lamar Jackson. I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson fan in the world.
Talk about this.
I don't think he has the it factor sometimes. For what everybody bangs on Jalen Hurts for, he does a lot of the same things, but sometimes even like he has some like Donovan McNabb-esque qualities, throws balls into the dirt unreasonably for no good reason at times. But then he does some magical things, and his legs make him dangerous. He was dead to rights, flicks the ball to Derrick Henry. They get the first down. We see what he can do. But the other thing is Zay Flowers. He was -3 yards today. I mean, not -3 yards.
No.
I mean, they tried running him for -3 yards.
Okay.
But he was 3 for 7 with 74 yards, kept him out of the end zone. That's what you need to do. Like you said, the tight ends were the biggest, bugaboo today, but they worked up the mismatch. They went up against kind of the smaller defensive backs. They were able to get the big guys up, throw the ball where only they can get them to. And that's what you do when it comes to these kind of things. But the Eagles, even their defense, as good as they've been, have struggled slightly against the tight end. So it's not unheard of.
Al, I want to talk about Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts comps for a second. So earlier in the year, I think before the Eagles might have went on bye, might have been 2-3 games into the season. The Eagles weren't looking so great. We'd talk about fire Sirianni, all this stuff thrown around. We talked about Jalen Hurts and Lamar, and I think you got a little hate told Lamar. He does have 2 MVPs to his credit. There's a chance he could win his 3rd this year. I hope he does, and I hope it goes to Saquon. Jalen Hurts does not have an MVP yet to his name. Don't you think that, if in a perfect world that Jalen Hurts' game develops into a Lamar Jackson, the total package there? Because Lamar is leading the league in passing yards too, which is crazy in itself. But
yeah. Well, like again, what makes him special is that he's able to get out of things that would normally make most quarterbacks dead to right.
Sure.
He's able to scramble out of things. He's able to flick the ball away and let guys who are kind of a second thought become a dangerous part of the game. So that's what makes him special. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, look at his overall his work. Like he doesn't, when the game's on the line, he's not there. When the pressure's there, he's not there. I'm just saying, like, I don't think Lamar Jackson's a bad quarterback. I just think Lamar Jackson does not have that it factor. And I'm not sitting here telling you Jalen Hurts has it, but I think he has a little bit more. And at least he was able to get to the big game. You know what I mean? He did fumble the ball and the other. But Lamar Jackson, every time, all we hear every season coming in there, Lamar Jackson, we're looking at a Super Bowl preview here of the Eagles and the Ravens. Well, let's see them get past the Chiefs first before we can do that in the playoffs. They had it in their home. They were the favorites in their home last year. They had the Chiefs had to go first time in all their playoff history with that regime. First time had to play all games away. They couldn't play anywhere in Kansas City. And what happens? They choke big time. You know what I mean? So, listen, I'm not sitting there saying he can't win and he can't be really good and he can't be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. But I just think he just was labeled a little too quickly in my eyes.
But right now, today, December 1st, 2024, I'm going to say Jalen Hurts, Lamar. Am I wrong?
No. Okay. No, absolutely not. Lamar, listen, Jalen Hurts has still got needs a little more time this season. Let's be honest. He's not 1,000% there. But what he is doing is he's cleaning up his mistakes.
Yeah.
And as he cleans up these mistakes and he feels more confident for himself, then you will see Lamar Jackson type stuff. But those magical things that Lamar Jackson can do, not everybody can do. And even Jalen's probably not going to be able to do it all. Right. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and for many years, Lamar Jackson had the help of one Mark Andrews, who kind of fell off a bit lately, had a touchdown in this game, was a big touchdown, and Lamar seemed to lean on him and likely the other tight end for the team
He's had a few touchdowns. He's kind of come on a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I had him on. I drafted him in my fantasy football league, so I've kept my eye on Andrews. And for the first few weeks, yes, he's been rough. He was rough to play, but he's got a touchdown on almost the last 6 or 7 games he's played in. So, take it for what it's worth.
Lamar isn't allergic to the middle of the field, so I know Andrews helps there in the middle of the field catching those balls.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert probably wasn't a prime Mark Andrews ever. Decent player, but you still like to see Jalen just attack the middle of the field more, and I feel like he's been doing it lately. I will give him a little credit. AJ Brown, he's hit for some shots. Dallas Goedert, again, but Dallas Goedert that was running outs to the sideline, but whatever. He's looking at the tight end. Lamar seems to go through progressions more than Hurts does. I mean, maybe like Hurts seems to lock on, and then if you don't have the guy, either holds the ball too long or it's he takes off and just starts moving. But
here, let me put this in perspective for you. And you went, why don't you go ahead? Go hit some of your comments, and then I'll put my point out. I feel like I'm talking too much. I want the commenters to kind of get their points in.
Yeah. And before we just get into that, everybody, please give us a like, share, and subscribe to It's a Wrap Network so we can get all that awesome content out to you. Smash that like button, as they say. But, Steve, we got your comment up here. You're talking about going 13 personnel and throw Uzomah in there. Yeah, that's for the runs. And there, it's usually curtains for the other team. It's not Trey Burton by any stretch, but I will take it. And we can run the football. There's no doubt about that. It's a Wrap Sports Network chiming in. One layered offense will never win a Super Bowl homers. There it is. The yin to our yang. Most likely Matty B, but you never know who's behind. I
wonder who. The homers kind of gives it away.
Oh, shoot. Noob Steve saying Quinyon was so lucky his leg wasn't planted. Yeah, it was a scary moment. I think he got hit on the perennial nerve at the distal end of the fibula. Are you a doctor, Steve? Because you're going a little over my head here at all this. If it's
the peroneal nerve, yeah, it's right above the knee there. Right. So
as long as it's not his perineum, yeah. Your ass neck, right, Al?
There you go.
Adam said, I wish they could get off to a fast start. Then they could be up on a teams much earlier than they are now. Yeah, a big problem, Al, showed itself this game as well. 17 points all season for the Eagles in the first quarter. If you're going to beat the top teams in the playoffs, Detroit, and the best teams for me in the NFL right now are in the AFC. If you're going to beat KC, if you're going to beat Baltimore again, if you're going to beat Buffalo again, you kind of probably have to score in the first quarter a little bit to go toe-to-toe with these guys, all right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you have to clean up, but there always is going to be these weird stats that now and then that people aren't going to, today was a test. Like, are you going to be able to get off slow? Are you going to be able to do this and get away with it? Well, today they were. So, it is something that I would love to see clean up because, back to what that random guy on It's a Wrap Sports Network YouTube page called us homers. The one layered thing. It is a layer that they would add in if they were able to compound. And listen, Adam, one thing I'm going to tell you is it's never going to be easy as Eagles fans. There's always got to be some quirk. Listen, we saw Brandon Graham go down. That was a kick in the gonads to the defense and to this team as a leader. But they played well with Adam today. Could you imagine if he was there, how good this defense would have been? But kind of back to what I was saying, like this is what makes winning teams win. What Matty B is trying to tell you is he wants his team just to win, straight out win and dominate. And who wouldn't? But it's Philadelphia, man. It just doesn't play out in that favor for us. But here's the stats I was going to tell you about before we start reading through them. Like, if I read these stats to you, you didn't watch the game, right? If I read these stats to you, let me tell me who thinks wins this game. All right, first downs. Philly had 17. Baltimore had 24. Third downs, Eagles were 4 for 12. Baltimore was 6 for 15. Total net yards, Eagles had 252. Baltimore had 372. I think it's the first time they let over 300 yards to an offense this year. Offensive plays, Philly ran 54 to the 71 for Baltimore. Average gain, Eagles were 4.7. Baltimore was 5.2. Rushing net, 140 for the Eagles, 166 for Baltimore. Passing net, 112 to the Eagles, 206 to Baltimore. How about this? 8 penalties for 55 for Philly, 4 for 20 for Baltimore. And Baltimore is one of the most penalized teams in the NFL, if not the most penalized team. No turnovers. Neither team gave up a turnover, which made it probably as tight as it was. So if I told you those stats, you didn't watch the game. Who do you think wins this game?
What to say? I thought Baltimore would have won the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this team's gonna. It's not gonna make anything easy, but they're. Listen, the question was this team playing bad teams, catching good teams at the right time, getting hot at the right time, that whole 9 yards, and part of it was. You kind of need that at the times, but now you're going into Baltimore, you're going into enemy territory, so one of the better teams in the NFL right now, top 5 teams in the NFL by far, right? So can they handle it? And they did, and they weren't even their best game they played. So take that with a grain of salt, Mr. Guy called us Homer. We're not sure who you are.
So the Eagles right now, 10-2. This is their 8th straight win, by the way. They are hot. Yes, Detroit is a little hotter right now, but I think we can get them out, and I'm going to tell you why I think we can get them. The Detroit schedule is a lot tougher. Their last several games are a lot tougher than the Eagles. They got Green Bay coming up on Thursday. Well, that's short rest.
That's another thing. It's a quick turnaround, so that makes it even a little bit more difficult.
That's not an easy matchup.
And they're banged up on defense. Don't forget. I mean, that's we lost. Like I said, Brandon Graham earlier, but they have a few other injuries.
Oh, they lost Aiden Hutchinson was their biggest loss on defense. He was out for the year. He blew his knee out. But then they have Buffalo. It's 10 days later, but Buffalo, it's at home. That's a tough matchup. At Chicago, okay, they take that game. At San Fran, that's not an easy one. And then versus Minnesota. Well, the Eagles, they got a much easier schedule. Now, they got Carolina at home. I'm going to say that's a win. I don't want to get cocky or anything, but Pittsburgh at home, that's our tough matchup. You could see that being a loss. At Washington, all of a sudden now we thought Washington was going in the tank, and they just kicked butt today. I believe they won. I mean, first half stats in fantasy for showing Washington was kicking butt all over the place. But at Washington, Dallas at home, Giants at home. So, I think we can have the best record in the NFC and get that number 1 playoff spot, which gives you that first round bye, which all the teams covet. So I think we're in a good spot.
Well, yeah. I mean, nowadays it's more important because you only get that first round bye. Back, we had 2 byes. You had the first and the second place team. So you weren't, it wasn't making it as competitive. It was kind of smart that they took one away for the competitive nature of the game. But, kind of going back to that schedule for a second, let's break it down. Now, Carolina should be a win. Carolina squeaks out a win again against Tampa Bay, who's not been the greatest team since we've seen them. Funny thing is, 2 top teams in the NFC right now are the Eagles and Detroit, with Green Bay right there as well. 2 of those 2 losses. Detroit has 1 loss. We have 2 losses. Each one have a loss to Tampa
Minnesota
Bay.
Has 2 losses too. Minnesota.
Oh, that's right, good. Minnesota. I don't think they played Tampa, but we both lost. Us and Detroit both lost to Tampa. Mm-hmm. Tampa came out hot and has fizzled a little bit since then. But again, Carolina, they should win. Some people call it a trap game, but I think they can play at 50% and still beat that team. They're a bad team. They're going to have, especially the fact that they won today, they're going to be riding high. This victory that they have.
That's what I'm saying. It's a letdown. Now Carolina just deflates, right?
Now Eagles have to be that shoe of reality that kicks them in the face. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But like I said, you go into Baltimore, I'm not in the bar. Pittsburgh comes here, mm-hmm. which that's going to be probably the biggest test now from here to the end of the year. True. Then Washington. So
that's your only road game. 4 out of 5 games at home. So it's nice.
So you have to go to Washington. Washington wants to stay in the playoff hunt. So that's going to be a big game. I honestly think they lose that game between you, me, and the Walls. I don't feel like they're going to win out. I really just don't think they're going to win out. They're going to have to lose another game somewhere. But maybe I hope I'm wrong.
And then Pittsburgh's the most likely one they lose, I would say. Yeah, but they could lose Washington, sure.
Mm-hmm. But then you end off with the Giants and then the Cowboys. Uh-huh. Granted, both really bad teams, but they are both divisional opponents. You know how that works, and they would love to play spoiler to the Eagles and not be in the first round. So I'm not looking past them. So I'm not going to sit here and, yes, on paper, From a win-loss percentage, yes, very favorable for Philadelphia. But we all saw what 10-1 looked like last year. Now, granted, the stretch coming after the 10-1 was a little much to deal with, so I get that. But after last year, I'm not putting the cart before the horse too much. But you can't not look ahead and see what's going on.
I still think last year was attributed to everybody's Viagra prescription lapsing at the same time, and that just caused massive deflation for everyone. But I'm just going to add this for Detroit. Jared Goff plays in the Dome, and his numbers outside of the Dome are a little tough. So that Chicago game, while I said that's probably a win for Detroit, you never know. There could be a blizzard out there, and Goff gets wrecked, and Chicago wins. And San Francisco
I was watching the game on Thanksgiving. I'm like, come on, what a way to end a game.
It was versus the Bears.
Yeah.
You know what? I swear Eberflus was trying to get fired there. He's like, you know what? F this team. I want to get fired and go to Hawaii for the rest of the year. So get paid, you know? It's nice to be an NFL coach. You can get fired and still have millions of dollars coming your way. So not a bad life at all. Steve saying, of the two things I feared missing, only one materialized. Clutch defensive end play was covered by Next Man Up. Did Next Man Up, the Eagles signed a scrap heap player for edge rusher to replace Graham. His name's Charles Harris. I don't even know if he played today. I didn't hear his name called. I don't know if he was on the stat sheet.
He's not on the stat sheet.
Okay. Was Jalix Hunt then, I assume, was
Jalix Hunt he had one tackle, an assist. That was that half a sack. That was the other half that went along with the Zach Bond. Okay. Jalix Hunt, he jumped up, blocked, because here's the thing is Jalix Hunt was a big part of that sack. He did deserve half the sack. He jumped up blocking Lamar Jackson's throw, which allowed Zach Bond to clean him up.
All right. And then Dallas Goddard had some good catches. Most of the third down void from Devontae was missing. Honestly, I totally forgot Devontae Smith wasn't even playing this game. I mean, I was even like, where's Devontae Smith? Or we missed him. I don't know. I didn't feel that way. I just felt.
You're going to miss him when the clutch time comes, because you're going to need a clutch time. Yeah. When a game is a little bit closer at the end and you're trying to drive up the field and kick a field goal for a win, you're going to miss him at those moments. But like the other thing is, like, next guy's out, like Josh Sweat, man, they had to cut him, re-sign him at a much cheaper rate. You know, he's having a renaissance moment. Nolan Smith, everybody's about to write him off. Big sack, 3 tackles, 5 assists. You can't even Isaiah Rodgers. That when Lamar Jackson tried jumping over him, like, that was pretty quick thinking on his behalf. Devontae Maddox, though, I'm over him. I'm just so over him.
And Steve saying you don't lose a lot when Tristan McCollum's in there. We are losing less with Ringo in there too. That's what buy-in looks like. I mean, that's what great defense coached by Vic Fangio looks like too. I mean, you got everybody on the same page there. As soon as they came out of that bye, everybody's clicking. I mean, the one glaring part in today's game for the Eagles was special teams. I mean, they had multiple penalties, 3 or so. I mean, you got to clean that up. I mean, I'm sure they can. That's not the worst thing. I mean, if that's the worst thing we're talking about today on the Eagles side, I guess it's not that bad. Adam's saying, I think our offensive line is better this year without Kelsey. I credit Jeff Stoutland for that. Yeah, Stoutland, Cam Jurgens. I mean, some people are saying he's better than Kelsey. Maybe he's better.
Listen, it's a small sample size, but he's starting off a lot better in his career than Jason Kelsey did. I mean, Jason Kelsey was almost cut from this team. I mean, he probably would have been if his career started 10 years later. You know what I mean? Like, he was a 6th-round pick. I mean, they thought Jeff Stoutland thought he had something. He stuck by him and became one of the greatest centers of Philadelphia Eagles lore, and more than that. But
now you can't get away without seeing this guy everywhere on social media, on TV, throwing guys' phones. Al, are you a little sick of? Look, I love him. I do.
Listen, Jason Kelsey was everything I wanted to be in life. A center that's larger than life. You know what I mean? Like that. Why else would I not that? Am I getting a little? Listen, yeah. Could I see a little less of Jason Kelsey on the TV and stuff? Sure. Absolutely. But credit him. Cash in while you're hot, man.
I know. Look, I do
get your money. Go do it. Do it. I do a tampon commercial.
But we'd hate you. All. We would kind of get sick of you, and you get sick of me if you saw me all the time. That's all.
Well, who wouldn't be? Like, listen, if you turned on the TV and saw me every day, you'd be like, oh god.
You know.
Now, if you're If you were making that money off of me, you'd be like, if you were my agent, you'd be like, see more of Al. Let's see him all the time. I want to keep seeing Al. But
peddling
no,
mediocre beer, peddling sugary cereals to children.
Buffalo Wild Wings,
everything.
I mean, when they played Monday Night Football, it went from him on the call, him on the commercial for Monday Night Football, and then him in the commercials in between Monday Night Football. I mean, he was all over the place. But
maybe Taylor Swift had something to do with it. I don't know. Her and her magical Pop-Tarts or whatever they are.
Magical Pop-Tarts. But no, like what Adam's saying though is like you got to give Jurgens a lot of credit.
Sure,
he is very capable. They know what they had when they were watching him. They drafted him at the right time. A lot of people really upset when they drafted him. I was the only one I know of that who was actually happy when they drafted him.
I didn't know who he was.
You knew the writing was on the wall. With him in his career for Jason, and Jason didn't want to go down, becoming a vegetable. So, yeah, I mean, his offensive line's clicking. You got a guy with the ability of Beckham, or Becton, or how you say his name, who just got him out of a bad organization, cleaned it up for him. One of the biggest questions was that right guard situation. Him and Lane have been dominant on that side, just like Dickerson and Mailata have been. I mean, this offensive line, you got to give it a whole lot of credit. You got to give it the credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Look, Saquon can't do it alone. You need a great offensive line to run behind, and he certainly has that here. We never had that with the Giants. And Jalen Hurts should be thankful for that offensive line because sometimes he holds that ball a little longer than he should, but his offensive line's giving him time to do that. But Evan Neal should not be as bad as he is in the pros. He just has very little growth since Bama. But why do I not know who Evan Neal is, Al? Who is Evan Neal?
Evan Neal, he was offensive lineman, right, for the Giants, I believe.
Oh, okay.
If that's what I'm thinking of, Evan Neal, right?
Okay.
Now you're making me look him up.
Yeah, follow up from Steve. So the Giants also effed up.
He's offensive tackle. He plays for the Giants. Yeah. No, he was their first. He was one of their first round picks in the last couple. I'll tell you right now because let me pull him up here.
Okay.
2022. Yeah, 2022. Okay. He was the offensive tackle. But hold on, like this is what I'm talking about. Go back to that comment for a second.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the difference. You put Evan Neal on the Eagles working with Jeff Stoutland, he'd be an all-pro. Okay,
let's get him. Bring him in.
Like that's my point. Like you're on a 2022 first-round pick from Bama for nothing. But my point is, you can't just put one good tackle in on the line and think he's going to be able to fix the whole line. Like you got to start building in pieces, but it just goes to show you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're on a crap team with a crap organization, you're going to flounder. I mean, give Barkley credit when he came out of Penn State, he was great, but as the Giants got worse, his career got worse, and his injuries started to pile up.
Yeah,
and then of course he's probably playing tentative after his injuries, and then knowing how bad your team is, how do you keep putting your body on the line? There's just a mentality. Right now, he feels like Superman. He's unstoppable.
Right.
And that's why he is playing like he is. Like I said, put Evan Neal on the Eagles offensive line. He's going to flourish.
There you go. So the Giants also effed up by letting Wink Martindale, who fed Chip Kelly his lunch yesterday, go to Michigan.
Yeah.
It happens.
They haven't done anything right. I mean, that team hasn't done anything right in over a decade.
What is it with these New York teams? I mean, even the Jets. Jeez, Louise.
They lucked into the playoffs in 2022, and then reality, wearing midnight green jerseys, came in and just said, "No, this is where you belong, Giants," and that's kind of how that happened.
It's Steve saying Jalen is throwing the ball away when nothing is there. Huge difference from first few weeks. You're right. He would eat the ball or throw a YOLO up, and that would get picked off, right? And so yes, limiting.
He's not even there wasn't even many. I'm trying to remember. There wasn't many moments in this game where I'm like, oh, that was close. Like he could have got picked off. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's being smart about it. He's taking a penalty and versus getting sacked or doing something. He's being smarter about it, and that's all you get to ask for him.
Do you think the Eagles played a little safe because they had the lead for the majority of the time? I felt like they weren't doing anything too crazy, and they didn't want to give the ball up. They weren't going to do anything stupid, right? They weren't throwing YOLO.
Well, no, I mean, listen. it was a tight game, so no, you don't want to do that. But I don't know how much they're playing it safe, but they weren't making any crazy gadget plays.
Sure.
While the kind of stuff like that, but they don't need to. They've showed that over the last few weeks. You don't need to. Ground and pound works. It's going to set up the passing game because they're going to be so hyper focused on Saquon Barkley. And then we saw that because they weren't getting anything to AJ. I mean, the first few series, it was a whole lot of nothing for them. I'm going to look right now. Let's see. Punt for the first 4 series, right? And then they had touchdown, and then it was the end of the half. So, I mean, put it this way. The first series, 4 plays for 16 yards. The second series, 3 plays for 4 yards. Third series, 3 plays for 2 yards. And then the fourth series, before they got a touchdown, 4 plays for whopping 21 yards. So, less than 50 yards in the first 4 plays. Before that, you thought this game was over. That's my thing is yes, they were able to, and on top of it, with the Ravens getting a field goal and a touchdown, and then they reversed it. It was punt for them. Mm-hmm. So they were able to lock in, see what the Ravens were giving them. And that's the thing is, that's why I don't get as annoyed with the slow starts as other people do. What I want, they should not have a slow start against Carolina. Just it shouldn't happen.
Right. It shouldn't.
But when you're playing one of the better teams, who's also scheming for you, who is also one of the better teams, might I add, then you got to see what they're offering, and then that's kind of where the chess game is.
It is.
But then when the Eagles settled in, you felt pretty confident for most of this game. They got in the driver's seat, and that's the way it went.
I think if there's any takeaways from this game, I mean, look, Baltimore coming into the game, number 1 offense in Baltimore versus the number 1 defense in Philadelphia. The defense prevailed here. The offense for Baltimore, I mean, you had 2 touchdowns from Baltimore that Steve's saying both went to the tight ends, one to Andrew, and then the garbage time to Likely. Yeah, they were both great throws. I mean, the one to Andrews in the beginning there, I mean, he high pointed that ball. There was 3-4 Eagles around him, and he just threw it. Andrew's the tallest guy there.
I went to the tallest guy on the field and then put it on one. Only he could get it. And Nooms is 1,000% correct. Mm-hmm. If those balls weren't thrown 100%, and he was under a little bit more duress, that probably even this game's probably not as close as it was.
My buddy Chris. Al, you
Chris.
know Chris.
What's up, Chris?
Chris Fury. Should we worry about a trap game? Al brought that up. Trap game next week against Carolina, since that game is between the Ravens and Steelers game. I hope not. I don't think so.
Norm, if they were a bit of a better team, I would. Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, Chris.
Maybe if you went to Carolina. Maybe.
Even then, they are a bad team. They just had a big divisional win over Tampa Bay. So they're living high. If they didn't win today, maybe I would say there's a closer of a trap game. But even if the Eagles are 50% of what they were normally, I still think they can squeak out a win. So
Carolina's riding high off that win today, and they're gonna go into next week with the Favuzelas playing. That's some soccer fans out there. All right, it's a Rap Network. I got to find out who this is. Oh yeah, the quirky stuff. I guess that's football, right? Somebody's fingerprints are all over this account here.
Yeah, hold on. First part. Guy, we don't know who you are. Yeah, okay. Who's saying that's football? Nobody said the words that's football. Nobody's saying that's football. I think I've laid it out pretty cleanly here. Yes, they were both filling each other out. The Eagles came out slower, but it's about who finishes fast, not who starts fast. How many times have you seen games where it looks like this game's in hand for Eagles, good and bad, and it gets away with them? Would I like a clean game? Absolutely. Did you not expect this to be a heavyweight fight? Did you not expect that to happen, that this was going to go down to the wire? And it really didn't. The Eagles were in control for the most part. Like you said, that last one was a little garbage time, a perfect ball thrown like Noom said earlier. This was a really good Eagles win, despite the fact that the numbers weren't in their favor, okay? Despite the fact that Jalen had a good game, not a great game. And the ball was spread out. Saquon got his, AJ got his, and they were able to capitalize. What good teams do, they capitalize on the other team's mistakes, and that's what they did. So you can't ask for much more than that. And that's football.
That's football. You know what else is football?
By the way, I'm starting a new show on this network called that's football, or that's quote sports, whatever
Uh,
sport you want to put in there.
and one of the Eagles player of the games, that's football, would be Justin Tucker, who missed 3 kicks, 2 field goals, and an extra point. That's 7 points right there. Who knows what could have happened if he would have banged those kicks out? But we talked at the top of the show, Baltimore. I'd be a little nervous, Baltimore fans, going into the playoffs and stuff, because
Oh, I'm sure. I would love to. I would love to listen to Baltimore radio for a minute just to find out what's saying. Now, listen, you add 7 points, they win this game. Granted, that garbage time stuff probably doesn't happen as well as it does, so I still think they win this game. Maybe a little tighter game, but they win this game if they still get those 7 points. So things are a little different.
Mhm.
But what do good teams do, Sal? They capitalize on teams'
Find ways
mistakes.
to win. Yep, capitalize on mistakes. I believe that's watching Arizona made me appreciate Jalen and Nick a tiny bit more. Because Kyler Murray, or I don't know. What are you getting from that, Al? You getting anything from that?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I mean, is it Kyler Murray and what's his face?
I would say Cliff Kingsbury, but he ain't the coach anymore.
No.
No, it's Gannon, right?
Gannon, Rich
Jonathan
Gannon.
Gannon.
Jonathan Gannon. I said Richard Gannon.
Mhm.
Detroit is losing players left and right. How Detroit tough games out are at home. Listen, man, injuries are part of the game. I mean, let's be honest. Look at 2017. The Eagles won, losing your quarterback who was playing at a MVP caliber. You lost your offensive tackle. A lot of things are big, but you have to be able to overcome those moments, and that's what winning teams do. You can make the excuses, but we'll find out.
And Noom saying the easier part, run blocking, Cam Jurgens is better at. I mean, maybe better than last year, Jason Kelsey, before he retired.
Well, most O linemen like to run block more. It's easier. Don't get me wrong. It's easier,
right? Because you're backpedaling, right, with your pass protector.
Yeah, we also know where the ball's going, so you know how to drive the guy. If his momentum's even bringing him in the way, especially with a guy like Saquon behind you, there is the plus to having this guy who can run and stop on a dime and shift gears. Because if you're run blocking and the guy's momentum's taking him right into the play, then you kind of take him that way so you can push him out of the way and allow Saquon to redirect his momentum. So, I mean, yeah, but run blocking, you probably, if you were to overlay it and look at the stats and really put it under a microscope, maybe it's better than Kelsey's. Again, small sample size. You got to let time go by, but that's what it is.
All right, Al, we're ready for it. Let's hear your tampon ad audition.
Oh, man.
I'm not touching this. I'm not going into this one. But
that's the ad, by the way. That's the slogan of my ad.
Oh, we're not touching it?
Yeah. It's a Wrap Sports Network official tampon. I'm not touching it.
Make no mistake, we were extremely conservative in the third quarter, and that was my point to saying, were we playing a little bit safe? But when you have the lead and you're on the road, maybe that's what you do, and you have Saquon Barkley, and you don't have to do anything crazy.
But with Saquon running the way he is, playing the way he is, it allows you not to make as many mistakes. Less things happen. We saw him almost turn the ball over.
He did fumble.
I mean, both teams fumbled a lot, but luckily nobody turned the ball over. I mean, Baltimore would have had at least 3, right? And one really close where Lamar Jackson tried to shovel pass it or try to throw it out
I think he was down
without taking the tag. Yeah, it was really close. A half a second difference either way could have made a world of a difference. But no, I mean they're going to play a little conservative. Why wouldn't you? You're trying to run the clock out. This is what you wanted your team to do, right? Am I wrong? Be smart with the ball. Don't run it. Don't play hero ball. Don't
turn over.
Don't. I mean, how many times have we watched, even in the beginning of this year, where the team should have been running the ball instead of passing it? They're passing the ball, getting a quick 3 and out, and leaving the time wide open for the game, and leaving the other team enough time to run down the field. They weren't letting that happen again. Because look what happened. Lamar Jackson had that scramble when they were playing the prevent defense. And, he got down there. They were able to throw that ball to likely score the touchdown. But how much time was left? 7 seconds on the clock. They knew what they were doing. They played that well.
There we go. Speaking of that, that's that run you were talking about, Al, the IS 300 kids saying, thanks for checking in, by the way. I didn't like the effort defense gave on Lamar's last big run. it almost seemed like the Eagles were kind of like, yeah, we won this game no matter what. So I didn't
No,
like it either. But
I don't like it. Nobody wants
Mhm.
to see it happen, but um, they play that correctly. They listen. They have their one eye on the clock and one eye on the team. Listen, Lamar Jackson is an explosive player. They know that those can happen, but they knew they were out of timeouts. They knew that the more he ran, he was going to be running. He was going to kill a lot more clock. They weren't all trying to allow a 39-yard scramble. Don't get me wrong,
mm,
but they also weren't trying to. They were trying to contain him, but they also weren't letting. They were trying to give up the big play across the field with the
and don't
passing.
break. Hmm.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to happen with these things. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants it,
Hmm.
but they handled it well. Like I said, when they scored the touchdown, they had 7 seconds left, knowing this,
Right.
knowing they were up. They had to score a touchdown to beat them. It was a smart play
You're up 5.
overall.
Yeah.
Didn't work out as well as you would hope, but they still won. So I mean, listen, it's never going to. If we're all looking for a perfect game, it's not going to happen.
Not gonna happen. Yeah, we're gonna nitpick because that's what we do here in Philadelphia anyway, and that's what we do in
Yeah.
It's a Rap Sports, as you can see by the account that always chimes in. Um, Noob's saying I'm more worried about coming out of the Carolina game banged up. Well, I mean, you can get banged up at coming out of any game. I mean,
Well, it's kind of like the Chicago game in 2022. Jalen had to go sit for a game or two after that. A couple guys came out banged up from that game. Then we saw the Saints game after that. You know, things didn't play out well. You know, so there's a lot of issues that go into that. So I get it. You just want to come out healthy with a W. That's why I'm not worried about if Saquon can get 300 yards all purpose,
mhm,
if
yeah,
you know AJ Brown can get 150 yards and a touchdown, if Devontae Smith comes back and can, you know, if there's any question on Devontae Smith, don't play him. This should be a Jahad Dotson game. You know what I mean? Like Kenny Gainwell game. Let them play a
yeah,
little bit more,
right.
balance it out a little bit. But I'm also saying don't. You want the W because it's important. You're in a race here. You
Yeah, you
can't
don't want to
take a
throw it away.
loss,
Mhm,
and you want to throw it away to a really bad Carolina team. So yeah, it's a tough balance. But yeah, it's the all point is coming out healthy is the most important than
mhm.
anything in that situation in against Carolina.
Yeah, Devontae, if he's missed 2 games in a row now. Look, he doesn't need to come back next week, but if he wants to play and he's okay, just limit his snaps. I don't think you really need much from him anyway. If you're up big, you're going to sit guys anyway the fourth quarter. So, and here's of course one of our other Eagle stars of the game, Justin Tucker, helped us
Yeah,
out big
right.
time. You
Hey,
never
listen,
know.
I said we went through the same thing at least for one game with
Jake
our
Elliott.
guy Jake Elliott. But you know, luckily he was able to right the ship. That's the difference. I mean, Tucker's been struggling all year long. They're probably going to make a tough decision and pull him. I'm not saying cut him, but pull him and put somebody else. But I don't know how you carry 2 kickers. That's difficult.
He's probably making a lot of money too. I'm sure he's the highest paid kicker in football, right?
Probably.
I don't know if you can just
The Arizona final drive was piss awful against
okay,
Minnesota. Yeah, no, I know. That's why I wasn't sure he was talking about, but that
okay.
I was kind of keep my eye on that game. I was watching like 3 games at a time, so yeah, I get it.
Oh man, I hope Maddie don't get mad for me posting this up, but it's funny. Tampa.
Yeah,
I'm not going to read it. You guys can read it. I don't need to say it. Tampa Dad's given new meeting for David R. Esquire.
yeah.
All right. All right, Chris. Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot here, Al. Do you think the slow start to the season was due to the offense and defense getting used to new coordinators? Let me give my take first because I've definitely been reading up on this and looking into this. I think yes, the new coordinators there is an adjustment period for both offense and defense. The other thing, though, going into the bye, what the Eagles were 2-2 or whatnot, or 2-3, 3-2, whatever it was. They went to the bye. Multiple players, multiple coaches. They had conversations. I heard Jalen Hurts and Sirianni had a lot of dialogue. They were having teams meetings. They were meeting face to face. They were going over, the game plan. They're going over the playbook. The offensive linemen were going to Sirianni. They were saying, "Look, our bread and butter is running the football. You brought in this workhorse. Let's start working them. Let's look, for lack of a better word, run them into the ground. I mean, you got this shiny new Lamborghini. Let's take it out for a test spin." I think that's when they really started to give Saquon all them carries. And then the defense, too. I think the defensive players, I think everybody just came together, coaches and players, during the bye week and said, look, we have a great team here. We have a good thing. What can we do? Because it seems like there's little things here we can fix. And I'm going to give credit to both the players and the coaches on this because I think it's a culmination of everybody coming together. And, like you said, maybe it is getting used to the new coordinators, but I think everybody talked. Maybe Sirianni, that was his thing. Maybe he has a hard head. He's Italian. I know that. I know something about having a hard head being Italian, but maybe it just took players getting in his ear, players going to the coaches. And that's kind of what you want. You want the players to want to do something, right? And not just say, hey, lead me. But you want them to give you input too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I definitely the new coordinators, also a lot of young players stepping up now. I mean, Jalen Carter only in his second year. You had Cooper DeJean. You have Quinyon Mitchell. Guys kind of trying to carve out a spot for themselves, and everybody working as one big cohesive unit. Don't forget, you didn't have Darius Slay today.
I know.
So.
Yeah.
So there's just different aspects of the game. So yeah, I attribute a little bit of that. I mean, having to start in South America, which apparently this team did not want to be. None of the teams wanted to be there. That's
party
also,
there. Look, I thought it was going to be a party night a week.
No, they locked themselves away, got in and got out like they were like ninjas in the night, man. Like, you know what I mean? That was it. Tampa Bay has always been a house of horrors for them. I think they got in their head on that one. And what else? I'm trying to think. Who else did they lose to? The Saints. The Saints game was gave them a big confidence booster because the Saints were one of the top teams at the beginning of the season. They looked like they were poised to make a big push. But overall, yeah. I mean, this team is buying in the organization. The philosophy. The organization has made a big philosophy change too. Like I said, they went and spent a lot of money on a running back, which is not their normal MO, and they have not deviated from the run game. So, I mean, what more can we ask for?
And you agree, Al, if you have a chance to win a championship this year, and that means burning Saquon out, I mean, you're going to do it, right? I say do it.
I think that is. I mean, you'll sign him on for this contract, waiting, hopefully get all 3 years out of him. I don't think
right. If you could do it this year, and then then next year he's okay. You can't expect him to have another historic season like this. So I think you ride this hot hand as far and as long as you can until it burns out. Shooting star. IS 300 kids saying, I'm proud of the team for not panicking. Easily could have gotten lopsided. It's a 60-minute game, not a 15-minute game. Lots of lulls. We had 6 plays in the third quarter that wasn't comfortable. No, until Saquon's touchdown in the fourth quarter, I don't know if we were all comfortable. They only scored in one quarter to that point. In the second quarter, they put up 14 points then, and then you were wondering what the heck's going on. Where is this offense? So
yeah, no, I agree with this altogether. Yeah.
And Adam saying we had slow starts with Doug Peterson and we had good coaches back then. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, listen, NFL just starts off slow. The first 3 to 4 weeks is preseason football for these teams. Most of these guys haven't played yet. And any meaningful football, I should say, they haven't played yet. So, yeah, I mean, that always plays a factor into it.
And we did have some injuries in this one. Reed Blankenship left the game with a concussion. We hope he's okay. We hope he can come back next week, but you don't need to force him back either. So
no.
I think we're all good there. You could just sit him out. It's fine. And nowadays, guys with concussions, they don't usually play the next game. So to be on the safe side, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's all I have. Al, do you have anything more here before we sign off? I think we're over an hour, so we did pretty good.
Hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed the game. I hope you enjoyed the post-game show. That's football. So for another one in there. Follow me at Big Al on EOP at X for you never know when I'm going to put some pearls of wisdom out there. And look for my new tampon ad to drop any time soon.
And Al, you're always welcome here on It's a Wrap. And of course,
I appreciate the invite.
So I hope you do come back because we still have some more Eagles football left to play this season. And some good.
I would love to jump in it again. This was
games
fun.
Left. Yeah,
I have to stretch my feet. I haven't done it in a couple months.
There you go. You haven't missed a beat, buddy. You're still great there. Golden. One more comment there. What we got? That's my man showing the love. Adam, man, you're always there to support us, buddy. Always appreciate it. Great show,
Adam's
guys.
a great
Keep
guy.
up the great work. He is a great guy, man. All right, guys. And you know what? Real quick, let me go ahead. I just got a little lineup here. Clear the ice. Yeah, we have other shows here on It's a Wrap. So make sure, if you haven't already, throw up a like for us. Share it. Subscribe. You got me. Look at this. Thursday night, Florida Panthers clear the ice. And then I'm going again Saturday, and then Matty B takes us home against that Utah Hockey Club. I don't know why they can't get him a name, but the Yetis.
They have to wait until I remember me and Matty were talking about this during the when we did the NHL draft this year.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. And then make sure, guys, I got a show tomorrow here every week, Monday, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's the Wraparound on It's a Wrap Network. It's tough to come up with that name. I don't know how I came up with it, but yeah, check me out. We talk about all the Philly sports.
Sponsored by Big Al's Tampons.
You'll be my first sponsor.
Yeah.
Talk about all the Philly sports stuff that happened over the past week. It's always a busy week here in Philadelphia, and we're going to be talking about the Eagles some more tomorrow for show. Here we go. What's this? Noom saying setting up the Homer bashing forthcoming. All right.
Bash away.
All right, guys.
I never shied away from it. I never shied away from Nooms, and I ain't starting now.
For Big Al Zaviri, I am Sal G. Give me a follow at Sal G Philly on X. Why not? What else you got better to do? Bricked up for Al's Panty Shields. That's right. There we go.
That's the name, Al's Panty Shields. I love it. Nooms, we'll talk. You're my new marketing genius.
All right. Lou Turks, hit us up. All right, guys. We'll talk to you on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Peace.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I'm so cute. Everybody know I'm you know when the click through. This is about to be a so big fun.